What is going on, guys? This is All Gaming with my review of Black Bullet episode 3. And this episode, it was definitely good, and it definitely made me want a lot more. So I am so excited to see next week because I just wanted to see more. And it kind of sucks that I have to wait, but I just know that it's going to be worth it. So the episode itself, it starts off with Rentaro and that professor, or sensei as he calls him. They're talking, but the sensei here, she's more focused on thinking about what she should have for dinner. So she really wasn't really listening to Rentaro, even though I'm pretty sure she's the one that called him there. But we see now that once again she has made food for herself, and it just looks so freaking disgusting. I don't know how she can eat that crap because it just looks freaking horrible. But we see now that Rentaro here, of course he's still looking for Senju, and he gets really upset when people don't consider her human. And we see now that this discrimination against the cursed children, it is definitely strong. So I definitely felt bad for them, because even his sensei said that that these people, they were abandoned by these parents, because people like Rentaro, they know where they come from and they know who they are. But the cursed children, they aren't like that, because they were abandoned, and because everybody hates them. It's kind of hard for them. And so that really goes to show you, because we see now that when he leaves, he actually gets a phone call from the school principal that that Senju was going to, and so she actually went to school. But I am curious as to why did the sensei give him a message about somebody wanted him to come to the student council room. I believe it was that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I definitely believe that was that I read in the subtitles. So I do wonder, will that play like some role later on, because it definitely like struck my interest. But we see now that after Rentaro had got that call, he quickly had went to Senju's school, and we see now that when he got there, we see these kids, they're like holding up these school supplies as if they want to use those as weapons, and they're like threatening her and they're telling her to leave, because they're saying that that she lied to them, and that she's a monster. And even some kid was like blaming her for something that happened to his family. But we see now that that one girl that we saw Senju talking to in the first episode, she like quickly ran inside, and Senju here, she was saying repeatedly that she's a human, but nobody was believing her. So that right there, I definitely felt kind of bad for her. But we see now that with Rentaro there, he is able to be there for her. So it's not like everybody is against her, because she has one person by her side. But sadly they can't stay because they have a job to do. And we see now that this helicopter, it came to the school to pick them up. And so now they're like flying around, and we see now that they're over some forest, and we just see this like massive spider that is using its own web to get around. And so we see Senju, she is like, even though she's depressed, she is so quick to act, as she immediately jumps out and attacks the spider. And that right there was freaking cool, because we see now that when Rentaro was like low enough to go down there, we saw like this very quick battle between Senju and the spider. And Senju, she's definitely impressive. Like, these cursed children, they really should not be getting so much hate, because you can see how powerful they are, and so and you also see how helpful they are as well. So they definitely serve a pretty good purpose here. And so we see now that she had destroyed the spider, and we see now that the inheritance within there as well. And so now now we see that when Rentaro picked it up, he had got this like very bad feeling, as we saw Kagetane. We saw him appear briefly in his mind, and then he appeared right before Rentaro, and and he grabbed him by the face. And so now we see that he threw him away. And we see now that Senju was actually going there to help him out. But we see Kagetane's daughter, her name is escaping right now, but we see now that she wants to fight Senju, because we know in the last episode she was definitely upset that she couldn't cut her. And so we have Rentaro bringing out his martial arts, and it actually looked pretty cool. Like the animation during that scene, it was definitely on point. I liked it a lot. But we see now that Kagetane, he just made this barrier to like basically, you know, reflect the hit so that way he wouldn't get hurt. And now we see Kagetane here bringing out one of his own moves where he just, you know, produces this like massive barrier, and it was like it was crushing Rentaro against this rock. And that right there was called like maximum pain. And not only did Kagetane stop there, but he also, you know, shot at Rentaro previously, so Rentaro definitely got messed up. And not only that, it definitely wasn't looking too well for him after he took that maximum pain hit. So right now he knew that, you know, things were not looking too well, and just because he couldn't get out of there, it doesn't mean that, you know, Senju had to stay as well. But of course Senju was not gonna leave his side, so he kinda had to like shoot at her to make her leave. And so now we see that Kagetane's daughter, she actually, you know, gets pretty upset, and we see now that she stabs Rentaro with her swords, and they actually come out, you know, like she stabbed him in the back, and they come out through her front side, and she actually, you know, had the nerve to move those swords around when they were in his body. So that right there was like definitely messed up. And so we see now that, you know, Kagetane here, he not playing around, as he plans on actually, you know, killing Rentaro, because we see now that he like backing up on this cliff, and he definitely, you know, running out of space. And when Kagetane asked Rentaro if he had any last words, he just told him to go to hell, and Kagetane actually shot him. And so now, of course, we saw how bloody Rentaro is, and the fact that, you know, that he got shot like that and fell from that height, he should be dead. And technically he was, but we see this like quick little flashback of 10 years ago when his sensei, you know, like first performed a surgery on him. Now I have no idea what the surgery did, because apparently, you know, it must be something pretty horrible. But whatever it is, I'm pretty sure we'll find out. But we see now that a day and 3 hours later, he does wake up does wake up in a hospital room, and we see now that Kisara, she's there as well, of course. And we see now that after they were talking, we see Senju, she's there in his bed, and she's clinging to him. And so, of course, now that Kagetane has the inheritance, we actually learn, you know, what he plans on doing with this, and we actually learn a lot about the Gastria. And so we actually learned that they evolve in like 5 stages. And in the first stage, if when they first inhabited their victim, and, you know, stage 2 to 4 is when they become complete. And the 5th stage here is like something like kind of gone wrong, but it's like something going right for them, as they become like these massive monsters, and those black monoliths that would normally, you know, keep them out, it has no effect on them. I'm guessing it's because, you know, of their massive bodies. Then that metal, they have, you know, such a great resistance to that. But the inheritance of the 7 stars is actually this crystal that will allow somebody to summon a stage 5. Now I don't know why, you know, the ruler of the Tokyo area would have something like that. Like maybe if people would like rebel and try to kill her, she would summon that, you know, to kill everybody. Because it's definitely strange that, you know, that somebody that's a ruler that should be, you know, protecting her people, she has something that could just wipe out everybody. But now Kagetane, he plans on, you know, like summoning a stage 5 Gastria. And speaking of Gastria, I forgot to bring this up earlier, but we actually learned that there are people out there that are actually, you know, worshiping the Gastria, because they think they're like they think they are like messengers of God, and they were like sent there to cleanse the earth. And that right there, you know, it's just so freaking dark and twisted. It's a shame, you know, how they just, you know, twist around religion in that kind of sense. And they also think that the cursed children, they're like a bridge between humanity and the Gastria, and that right there, you know, does make sense, because they're all like half and half. But we see now that Rentaro, like, even though we see that his body, you know, is so beat up, because we see him after all the bandages, we see now that he plans on going out there and stopping Kagetane. And of course, you know, Kisara can't stop him. But we see that is Sensei. She came in there and she put on like this heavy bag, and it had like all these like different gadgets and weapons that he can use to fight Kagetane. So clearly a series battle is definitely going to go down. And we see now that, you know, nobody really stopping him. Even when he was leaving, you know, Kisara and Senju, they were like fine. They were fine with it. But we see now that all these cursed children, along with the partners, they're all getting on the helicopters because, of course, they're going to the area, you know, to get this back to stop him. And we see now that they're like flying past the black monoliths after going into this forest where he is. And so once they land, we see now that we see like one giant like crocodile, but of course he's like mixed with like a gastria as well. And then we see another one that actually looks like a dinosaur to me, but that right there was like a stage 4. So these gastria, you know, outside they are pretty big. And so that right there was like very interesting, because I believe the biggest one that we've seen so far was like that giant spider. And the smallest one that we probably seen, it was like that golden spider that we saw in the first episode. So the fact that, you know, that they vary in such size differences, it is pretty interesting, and I like that. But we see now eventually Retaro and Senju, they come across this like shack, and they see that this fire is going on. But when they think that it could be Kagetane, that they get ready to attack it. But we actually see that it's a little girl that we saw in the second episode, and she's Shogun's partner. And so now we see that Senju was actually going to attack her, and it would have been too late, you know, if Retaro didn't say anything, because she was so close to kicking her in the head. But now we see, after they were talking, we see now that we actually learn her name, and it's Senju Kayo, and we see now that she's hurt, as we saw this blood. It was like dripping from her arm. And so we have Senju, who got, you know, really jealous and upset because Rentaro here told her to go watch while he was tending to her arm. And so we actually, you know, learn a little bit more about her, and we actually learned, you know, once Senju, you know, got her gun, that she actually set off an explosion, because I forgot that when it first landed, we saw like some smoke coming up, and she was the cause for that. And so there was this one gastria that actually used like this light to lure in its victims, and Shogun and Senju, they thought it could be their allies, but it was a gastria. So, you know, so she quickly used that gun, I'm guessing, to get rid of it. And we also learned that Shogun here is definitely a piece of shit. I just gotta, you know, get that out there, because he actually has Senju, you know, kill two pairs, because apparently, you know, Shogun here, he does not want anybody else to get the reward, so he has no problem killing out, you know, he has no problem killing out the people that are like him, which is definitely, you know, very low and dirty. But we actually learned that, you know, that Shogun, he's all muscle and no brain, which is definitely obvious. But Senju here, she's like based off a model of a dolphin, so she has like a much higher IQ than average, and she also has like a perfect memory. And so we see now that she was actually almost this close to becoming, you know, comfortable with killing, but thanks to Motaro getting upset and, you know, reaching out to her, we see now that, you know, that she's changing, and she definitely acting more human-like, because it seems like she was so close to like shutting off all her emotions, because she was saying that, you know, even though Retoa words, they were definitely right, and she not want to deny them, she was already coming up with like all these arguments. So clearly she is definitely going to change. I'm not too sure if she'll stick with Shogun, but he actually, you know, reached out to her on this radio, and he knows where Kagetane is. And so now we have Senju, Senju, and Retaro, they're all heading to where Shogun is, and we see now that this city that is obviously deserted, and we see that, you know, Kagetane is down there. So for some reason, I have a very strong feeling that Shogun here, he might get, you know, like a little impatient, and he could possibly attack Kagetane on his own, and maybe that right there will like result in his death. But I just gotta say, if this guy, you know, does die, then I will have no problem with that, because he goes by some very dirty means, if we could learn about it in this episode. But like I said, the episode was definitely good, and it just made me want more, so I am just so freaking excited for next week. But as always, I would love to hear what you guys thought, because to me, this episode right here, it was like I want to say like maybe a 7.5 out of 10. Yeah, I'll give it that, because to me it was definitely good, but it just made me want more. But as always, please do not forget to like the video and subscribe, because that really helps me out. And you guys take it easy, and I will see you all next time.